Welcome back to the channel. We are on the road again. Perfect day for a bike ride. Spring weather. No sunshine in my eyes. Cool breeze. I almost busted out my leather. Can't wait for leather season. You know, this is just some cheap shirt I bought online thinking I'd wear it once or twice, and this ended up being my entire summer. Okay. It's going to be a fun ride today. Fun conversation. Get this bike ready. And we are off, baby. Another cruise. Take it light on this beautiful forest road. You know, I just posted a podcast episode that I did with a friend I grew up with, Paul Tesmer. John Smith, the nobody, shout out. It was such a funny conversation because we have so much history together, but we've just made so many different decisions that have put us in such a different place. And I'm not Mr. High and Mighty, got it all figured it out. I'm still learning every single day. And I've made some mistakes of my own to get where I'm at. And I've made questionable decisions. But I always had the right intention. I never was like an evil person. I told you guys in another video, you know, I would rob drug dealers. But that doesn't count. That cancels itself out, you know. That's like two negatives canceling each other out. So never actually did anything wrong to get where I'm at. Everybody that I took advantage of had it coming. But yeah, it was just the conversation itself. I think there's more to learn from reading between the lines on that conversation than from the conversation itself. I feel like there was a lot of excuses, a lot of little things that I want to touch on in this video, even though that was probably a month ago, because I'm pushing these out now. By the way, these videos are going to be coming out every Thursday around 1 o'clock Western time. So instead of just putting 2 or 3 videos out in 1 week, I wanted to do that in the beginning to build the channel out, but now that I've got enough videos there floating around, I want to just go out weekly with the videos for now and see how that goes. And so now the whole month is full, so this video won't be out for 4 more weeks. But one thing that I know, there was a lot of overcoming trauma and a lot of introspective behavior that I've done in the last 20 years to really find peace and harmony within myself, to be able to meet myself where I'm at so I can grow. Because you can't meet yourself where you're at now. There's just no way you get to grow. It won't happen. You'll stay stuck forever. And so acknowledging me in this moment for all my blessings and all my faults. But thing that we breezed over in that podcast that I think is really important to understand is the millions of micro steps that it took to go from a homeless kid in the projects to wake up with beautiful real estate, money in the bank. Family relationships are perfect. There used to be a lot of bitterness and animosity towards my mom and dad for leaving me on the streets, animosity towards my older brother for reasons I won't even dredge up, but it just seemed like he was always working against me. And so by healing these traumas and taking these small steps, you slowly come out, one claw mark at a time. And it's easy to look at these videos and think that there was just one grand gesture. And I think one thing I learned about ACEs, we've talked about ACEs before. One of my motocross videos goes over ACEs, and then another one of my motocross videos goes over all the side effects of ACEs and how you can overcome them. I may redo those topics on the Harley because the Harley videos get way more views. So for now at least, I don't know where this channel is going to end up, but I'm still learning. But one of the things about ACEs is that deep down inside, you're always waiting for somebody to save you. That your brain has been programmed to need saving when you go through these adverse childhood experiences at a really early age, especially when you have more than one and they compound on themselves. And you can make questionable decisions because of that. If you think somebody's coming to save you, you'll wait, you'll procrastinate, you won't do the job right, you'll be expecting handouts, you'll be looking at welfare and food stamps like that's an option. But it's these baby steps that will get us where we want to be. Something as simple as not hitting the snooze button. Now, I particularly like to hit the snooze button once. I like to wake up slow, lay in bed for a minute, have a morning meditation. I go through a gratitude practice before I get out of bed. And I go through a couple little meditations I do in the morning. And so for me, if I know I have to be up, like right now I get up at 5:45. And so I set my alarm for 5:30 and I set one for 5:45. So when my 5:30 alarm goes off, I hit the snooze button and then I slowly wake up, I slowly sit up in bed, I sit there, I do my meditation, put my hand over my heart, have my gratitude moment, I do all of my morning work to get my head right. And then when the 5:45 alarm goes off, I instantly jump up and I get out of bed. There's no procrastination, there's no snoozing at that point. So when we make a good habit of having a purpose in life and creating small habits to make us better, you'll hear people talk about the snooze button all the time, and it's almost doing the negative. Like when I first started, it was discouraging me because like, no, that's not me. I want to hit that button, but what I've done is I figured out a way around it by just waking up 15 minutes earlier. Then I can snooze all I want, and by the time my real alarm goes off, I'm energized, meditated, ready to rock and roll. So that's like one habit. Another habit I had was whenever I'd go into negative self-talk, I would stop. And I haven't done this in a long time, but I used to literally pray. I would stop and I would say, please, Lord, take these evil thoughts out of my head and replace them with thoughts of love and abundance. I've been doing that since 1999, sitting in the county jail. When I was going through that armed robbery situation, I would be laying in jail, beating myself up over my decisions, beating myself up over what I've wasted in my life, beating myself up over my drug use. I could beat myself up for hours with the most aggressive negative talk. And I'd also fantasize about hurting people. I used to think back on fist fights I got into and replay them in my mind and visualize fist fighting new enemies. And I think testosterone has a lot to do with that. It's a very aggressive chemical that men have. It's very violent. But I would stop. Whenever these thoughts would come up, I would just stop and say that line, please, Lord, take these evil thoughts out of my head, replace them with love and abundance, and then I move past it. And I would maybe have to say that little prayer 100 times a day in the beginning, and then 10 times a day, and then once a day, and once a week, once a month, and then all of a sudden my brain is full of love and abundance. And without that negative self-talk and those negative thoughts, life starts to reflect and mirror that emotion. And then you become stronger and more able to handle emotional traumas because your battery is full. When you're always beating yourself down, you're draining your battery. You're heavy, hunched over, tired. You can barely lift your legs to walk. It's exhausting to be in this negative mind state because it's a lower vibrational frequency, so your energy is draining. When you get into this abundance and gratitude and love, and you have grace with yourself, and you stop talking down to yourself, you start vibrating at a higher frequency, and you become more energized naturally, and you just will naturally have a better life. And these are baby steps that take time. And so in the first year of me wanting to change my life, if you look at me at the beginning of that year and at the end of that year, you might not have noticed much of a difference. I might have still been broke and miserable and having struggles, and I might have still been selling drugs and doing all these things. But mentally, I was slowly changing inside. And wisdom was starting to leak in, and it was creating introspection and having me take a look at myself. And we manifest things. I mentioned in that podcast episode with Paul Tesmer that I used to have negative self-talk in the mirror. I'd look myself in the mirror and tell myself what a piece of shit I was. I'd look in my eyes and I'd see the demon. One time I made this huge mistake that I just couldn't forgive myself for, and I was looking at myself in the mirror and my blood was boiling and I hated myself, and I just didn't even hesitate. It wasn't planned. I just reached my arm back and I punched myself in the face as hard as I could. And I mean, it was a hard punch. It knocked my lights out. And 5 years later, that side of my jaw gets shattered in a fist fight, completely shattered. It's almost like I manifested it by attacking my own jaw. Like I let my body know I didn't like that part of myself, and so the universe came in and took it away. And I believe that that is how the universe works, and by me filling my brain with thoughts of love and abundance, I received that in life. And so these are baby steps. There's not anybody coming to save you. There's not going to be one morning when you wake up and it's all there. I used to have dreams about finding money. I would have a dream that I came across this suitcase full of gold and cash, and I was like, oh my God, my life is, I've been saved. I'm going to buy everything I need, and I'm retired. I don't have to stress anymore, and I'd be so happy. And then I'd wake up still poor, super disappointed, and that's that aces coming in, tricking my brain that I need to be saved. It's that scared little boy inside you still waiting for somebody to come and swoop him up, or scared little girl inside you. So understanding that you are your savior is so important, and then understanding that it takes baby steps. It's small. You will struggle, you will suffer, you'll go through emotional ups and downs. It's okay. That's the journey. Life is such a blessing to be alive, to be breathing air, to be able to struggle and suffer. Like money problems and debts and enemies and arguments. All the pain in the world is a problem of the living. The dead people don't have that problem. So even your problems are such a blessing. And by phrasing them as blessings, you'll start to see the blessings in them, because something good comes out of every problem. And trouble always comes to pass. So I just was really thinking about that podcast a lot, and how Paul mentioned that 40 years can go by in the blink of an eye, or before you know it, you're 45 years old, homeless, sleeping in your car. And it just goes by so fast, and it's easy to get into your victim mentality and blame the world and fight against it and try to build up some street credit. He's been running Ocean View streets for 45 years, and Ocean View doesn't even know who he is. He went through maybe a decade where he was important in that town, and that's it. So toxic behavior and lashing out and waiting for somebody to save you is only going to lead to self-destructive behavior and end up with you not happy with your life. Other than, hitting the snooze button and not allowing negative thoughts into your mind, there's practical steps. I remember in high school, me and my brother were both living on our own. We were emancipated by the state. I've told you this story already. So I could leave school whenever I wanted to pay rent, and my house was a party house and a drug house and a sex house, and it was all these things. And the school knew we were trouble, and we'd come to class and cause trouble and act up because we wanted the attention. We felt like we needed some sort of validation subconsciously. I don't think I was necessarily walking into class those times acting out specifically for validation, but subconsciously that's what I was going for, because I was alone and I had nothing. And I remember my English teacher wanted me to write this paper. I wasn't a good student. I wasn't reading the books, doing anything. But one night I just decided, you know what? Instead of doing a bunch of cocaine with my friends right now, I'm just going to write this paper. And in fact, this particular paper, I think I sat around the table with my friends and we did a bunch of cocaine and we wrote the paper together, but nonetheless, I wrote the paper. And I remember I go to class, and I walk in 10 minutes late, and as soon as I walk into the classroom, the teacher's like, no, get out, leave my classroom right now. And she must have just been expecting me to be a problem that day. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she's like, get out. And then she starts walking towards me, and she walks me out of the classroom. And I just remember she was yelling at me and telling me what a disruption I was. And I just looked at her. I was stoned out of my mind, bloodshot eyes. I look at her, I said, I did the homework. And she just stops talking, and she just looks at me with this pitiful look. And she's like, you did what? I was like, I did the homework. And I pull it out of my backpack and I hand her the paper, and she just looks at me. I swear she almost cried. And she looks at the paper, looks at me, she's like, okay, come in and sit down and just don't disrupt. And so she let me come into class, and I felt this validation. And it was like that little baby stuff to do my homework gave me this little validation that I could hang on to. Maybe it only lasted for that class. Maybe it lasted for the rest of the day, for a month, I don't know. I can't recall all the details, but I do remember feeling validated. And it felt really good, and then I would do another assignment and try to show up a little earlier, and just these little baby steps. I didn't graduate high school, it didn't really work, but these are the little seeds I was planting in my head at an early age, so that when I was ready to change, I had tools. So ask yourself, what is a small baby step that you can do today that's going to help in the long run? Help be a catalyst for growth and get you out of the funk that you're in. There's always something you could do. You could do that homework assignment, talk to that friend, be graceful with yourself, say something positive to yourself in the mirror today. Wake up on time. Don't procrastinate. There's something you're supposed to do, and every time you're getting up to do it, you decide to clean the house instead, do your laundry instead, make that phone call instead, but do what you're procrastinating. Just a baby step. Don't add any pressure. You're not ready for it. But take these baby steps and practice doing these baby steps every single day. And after a year, you've got thousands of baby steps under your belt, and you'll be so much further than you ever expected. So I hope that makes you guys feel inspired and confident. If you're still listening, I love you guys very much. You have all my heart and gratitude. Get out there and do good things. Be good. Help people when you can. And if you're listening to this, you are the resistance.